we're doing a series at Your Computer Hero, just highlighting really the heroes in our community that are doing good things and helping other people live well with technology. So, I mean, as you know, at Your Computer Hero, we are very tech positive. We want people to be efficient and connected and secure with their technology. But at the same time, it's a tool, just like any other of the many wonderful tools that we have in our environment. People can pick it up for good and they can pick it up for bad. And what we want, and it also adds just a layer of complexity to nearly everything we do in our families and in our communities, and in our businesses. And so that's why I've asked you on today, because I'm excited about what you're doing. I think it's incredible and beautiful. And as it relates to technology, I think it is one of those industries that is driven and it just increases people's reach to do something bad, and you're combating that. And so that's why I wanted you to come on today and do this interview. So I certainly appreciate your time, and I'm excited that you're here.
I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's
my greatest joy to talk about this, maybe. That's a uncomfortable topic, but it's one we need to talk about, and knowledge is power.
Right.
It empowers us. So
right. Yeah. Certainly. So the mission of your organization at Stories Foundation is the rescue and restoration of human trafficking victims, right?
Yes.
Through education, advocacy, and micro grants. So can you say just a little bit more about that?
Yeah, for sure. So what we do is we first educate communities about human trafficking, and we do that through events. We do that through home events, conference events, one-on-one conversations, things like this. And actually this fall we'll be releasing a online curriculum that will really cover the root causes of sexual violence and human trafficking. So I'm excited about that, because then it will allow more people to educate themselves on what this actually looks like in our world today. So that's that part. And then our main reason we started was to fundraise for organizations fighting human trafficking. When I learned about human trafficking, I didn't know anything about it. And I thought, well, these organizations that are doing something about it, we should help them. So the idea was to start a business that would generate income that we then could give away the income to the cause. And the end goal is a cafe. Right now we run a food truck that raises all the money that comes in through the truck, goes back into our micro grant fund. And then organizations can apply for those grants to fund their work.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I saw that on your website that the food truck is up and running. I know when I first met you and the first time that I heard you speak, you were actually in the process of buying the food truck.
Yes.
So can you tell me a little bit about that? I think that's one way that people can get involved, very simply, with human trafficking, is just to come to the food truck and understand that have the experience of the food truck and buy something there. I mean, that's a very simple step that people can take.
Yeah, human trafficking is super overwhelming. It's overwhelming, and it should be, because it's huge and it's horrific and it's everywhere, and it's under this dark world that we don't talk about and that we don't acknowledge. And so the idea, with the food truck is exactly what you said, that if you come and you make an intentional purchase at our truck and soon our cafe, you can know you made a difference. You just took that first step, and it's an important step. Every step is important. And then hopefully that will lead you to want to learn more. And I mean, we serve amazing food, so then you'll want to come back over and over and over again and supporting and engaging in the cause. So.
Right. Oh, and where is the food truck? How do people know where the food truck is and how to find it?
Yeah, so we're on social media. You can find Stories Foundation on Facebook, and then the Freedom Truck is on Facebook and Instagram, also both of those. And our website is storiesfoundation.org, and we post we post every time we go out. We're trying to be better at posting, but we're all over the cities. We were in Anoka on Saturday. We're in St. Paul today at 2 different locations. So we're everywhere.
Okay. Okay.
We'd love to come to your office or event.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. So you can book the truck for any kind of corporate event or community event.
Yes.
Oh, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that you have as part of the Stories Foundation, you have this slogan or logo, live your story, share your story, change your story.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I am really passionate about encouraging people to live the story that they have. I think we often look at other people's stories and we want other people's stories, or we compare our stories, or we don't like the hard parts of our stories or the ugly parts. But I think that when we own every piece of our story makes us who we are.
Right.
And every person is so valuable and has so much value to bring. And each person is so unique because no one shares the same experiences. Even if we have similarities in our experiences, every single experience is unique, which makes every single person unique. And all of those experiences, the hard, the bad, the ugly, they all make us who we are. And so when we confidently live our stories and own them, then we can come alongside others and we can share our stories and share the hard things and the good things with others. And I think that looks like, not everyone has experienced, the loss of a child or even the loss of a parent or whatever maybe your grief would be, but almost everyone who's lived for a while knows what grief feels like.
Yeah.
You can say, I don't exactly know exactly what you're going through, but I know what pain feels like. I know what it is to hurt. I know what loss is.
Right.
And we start to own our story, then we can come alongside others and say, I don't know exactly what it feels like to be, exploited or abused, but I know what it feels like to be betrayed. And I know what it feels like to have pain and to be hurt by somebody. And I'm so sorry you've gone through that. And I want to come alongside you and be a support to you or whatever. And then we start to see stories changed in our lives and in our world and community.
Sure. That's just such a beautiful thing. So the question that I have really for you too is about human trafficking and sexual trafficking and how huge of a problem that it is and how it is in all of our communities.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like you to paint a picture for me about how big that problem is, and then also just speak to why it is so under the radar.
Yeah. So a quick overview, human trafficking is like the overarch, and then underneath human trafficking, like you said, there's sex trafficking and labor trafficking. And in the States, sex trafficking has gotten a lot of press recently, as it should. When we're talking about technology, I think that's more where we're going to go today. So sex trafficking is when people are buying other people for either sexual acts or sexual exploitation. And those people that they're buying are not there by choice. They were coerced or manipulated or forced into this. So how that will look here in the States, in Minnesota, is a young girl has an older boyfriend that lures her and buys her nice things, buys her expensive purses, tells her she's amazing. He maybe sees a vulnerability that she's new to the area, and so she needs a friend, or she has insecurities, which 17, 16, 33, 35, 40-year-old woman doesn't have insecurities.
Isn't that right? Yeah, you bet. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and traffickers are actually trained. There's books on Amazon and there's videos that train traffickers on how to spot vulnerabilities and then exploit them. So they're looking for vulnerabilities in people that can be exploited. They're looking for people who have those vulnerabilities. So then they'll lure them into this relationship. And then after a while, the turn happens, and that's when the trafficker says, oh, we're short on money, will you go strip for me? And so she does, because she loves him, and then he's selling her it's like that quick, where all of a sudden she's in the back of a car being raped. Often it's gang raped, it's videoed, it's blackmailed. So that's kind of the process of how someone becomes trafficked. And then how it's so widespread and in our communities, I think, is the internet.
Yeah.
When I go speak, people are like, oh, human trafficking isn't happening in my community. And first of all, it is, because if you have a strip club or an escort service or any of that. But if you have a computer, it's in your home.
Yeah.
Of the internet and because of internet pornography. And they say that 90% of I'm going to see if that's wrong. I shouldn't say numbers unless they're right in front of me. A large number of people that are involved in the internet pornography industry are trafficked. And then what happens is that the people watching pornography online, they become so addicted to it that they need harder and harder porn, just like drugs. It's the same effect in our brain. It's just like methamphetamines.
Yep.
And then they need to act out what they've been seeing. So then they go purchase, they first go to strip clubs and then they're purchasing sex, which 90% of prostitutes, that's the 90%. 90% of prostitutes are victims of trafficking. So it's this cycle that just feeds itself, and it's in every single home.
Yes.
To all of us. So.
Yeah, I think that's where it really hits home for us, is that, it can be piped in to it is piped into our families, to our children, to our, just from a very, very young age. And so, and that's the part that just turns your stomach, it just turns your stomach. And I remember when my daughter was working on a school project, and she was doing a project on Georgia, and it was a Google search, and I was sitting next to her, and up came these very explicit pictures. And this was through a school website or school, portal. And it was in Google. Right. And so they do have filters, but so we just have to equip. So I guess the question that I have for you, just as an average family, first of all, we have, pornography that happens in our marriages, and then also in our children's lives.
Yeah.
So can you speak to that and just help me kind of understand or share with our audience, how do we deal with that well?
Yeah, and I think the first thing we have to realize is that they're targeting our kids, and they're targeting our marriages. So when you say that she was in the school portal and it was for a school project, they're targeting that. They're not stupid. They know, just like with drug dealers, if you get, a teenager addicted young, you have a customer for life. And it's the same with pornography. If you can get a 9, 10, 11-year-old addicted to porn, we're literally going to have a customer for life. And so I think that's the first thing as parents we need to be aware of, that, I don't know, it's like a battle, and we can't pretend it's not happening. I think a lot of parents want to pretend that their kids are going to be the ones that are immune. But if your child has a device ever, they're not immune. They're not immune. And so I think that we need to not approach it from a stance of fear or, or giving up, like we can't control it, or it's too hard, or it's too overwhelming. I think as parents, that can be the default, is, oh man, this is so overwhelming, and how can I do another thing in life and can't happen to my kid, right?
Yep.
We need to be aware. We need to educate ourselves, and then we need to put the proper things in place to protect our children, and we need to talk to our kids. Unfortunately, we have to talk to our kids about what healthy sex is. We need to talk to them about what porn is, and that porn is not sex, because it's not. We need to talk to them about how porn is the new drug, how it is, just like you tell your kids not to smoke, you tell them not to do drugs, you have to tell them not to do porn. You have to tell them what they're going to see, what it's going to make them feel, and that it will ruin their lives, literally ruin their ability to have sex, their ability to have meaningful, intimate relationships in the future. It'll ruin their lives. And I think if we give our kids that information, and then if they do see that, we need to be the safe place that they feel like they can come to. And by having this open dialogue, as uncomfortable as it may be, that's what we're creating for our families and for our children.
Yeah. So this is so interesting for me, Stephanie, that this conversation is leading back to this area of purity and sex within marriage, because I had, and I still do, I'm working in the family business now, and I don't pursue it quite like I used to, but I used to have a speaking ministry around purity, and really preparing our kids from the time they turn 9 years old or 7, actually 7,
Yep.
To meet with them and talk to them about what healthy sex within marriage looks like and how beautiful that it can be.
Mm-hmm.
And when you really get a handle on how wonderful it can be, it just makes everything different, and it puts everything in perspective. But the cultural narrative about sex within marriage is just not, it's either absent, both from the standpoint of, the church is pretty silent, even still, about healthy sex within marriage. And certainly the cultural narrative is all about this supposed fabulous period of dating, and then silent about marriage. And so I think there's that piece too. And it's been a part of my mission to educate and equip moms to actually really, really enculturate their daughters and help them understand. And in the process, help a married woman, married woman who's been married for 10, 12, 15 years understand the power of that within their marriage.
For sure. Well, and I think most of us, I speak for, myself, I grew up really conservative in the church, and we didn't talk about sex, which means we have no frame of reference to talk to our kids about sex. And so it's become really, I talk about sex really easily these days in this context. And I sometimes forget how it shocks people. And yet it shouldn't shock people. And what's happening when we're silent is, like you said, the culture is not silent about sex. It's everywhere. It's their main message is dehumanizing people, humans, and objectifying them. That's like the main message. So if we're not coming back with a message of, you're worth more than to just be used for sex, and a relationship is more than just sex, and it's more than an orgasm, and sex is amazing in the right context, and when it's selfless. I think that's the other thing, is we have a very selfish view of sex in our culture, that sex is for me to have pleasure, and that is actually not true sex, right? True sex is for the other person, and it creates an intimacy, and it's to further a relationship. And anyways, but if we're not saying all of those things, then the culture is saying them. And the culture will train your child, just by, even if by some miracle your child never encounters any kind of pornography on the internet, they go to the mall, they're in the locker rooms, they're looking at the magazines, and they will be trained by the culture.
Yep. I've heard it characterized and said it many times that it's a conveyor belt that the kids get on to early sexuality. And so these early things, the dolls that they play with, these really early things that we can easily just speak, not poo-poo, oh, that's so terrible, but let's play with this kind of doll or these kinds of toys, as opposed to, these alternatives that are out there that are really just putting them on that conveyor belt to early sexuality and unhealthy sexuality for life, just really early on. And so all of those pieces are in place, and you can see how they get moved along on those. So
definitely.
It's just so good to be aware.
Yeah. And the other side of technology too is the whole luring, which, we know as parents teach our kids about stranger danger, but I always tell teenagers when I talk to them, I make them repeat back to me that the internet is not a safe place. The people that you can't see who they really are, they're lying to you. It's not safe. And to teach your children too about that whole piece.
Yep. I think, Stephanie, you're getting right to the center of my heart, which is, we are in this business of technology, and that we help people. We help them get efficient and get connected and get secure. And that is what we do here at Your Computer Hero. And for me to do that without this messaging around, okay, we all need that, right? That's where we are in time. That's where we are in our culture. But let's be very intentional and aware of what we are doing with this tool, And so for me, just gets right to my heart of like,
Mhm.
yes, I am so glad we have the newest technology and we're all fast and whatever on it. But my goodness, let's be smart about what we're doing.
Well, just like you protect your information, you need to protect yourself and protect your mind and protect your relationships. And it's the same idea. You know, you wouldn't just put your credit card information out on an unsecure website, right? And
Right.
you also shouldn't just put your home information out to anybody or put your picture out there for any, you know, we need to be aware of what kind of information we're sharing about ourselves and who we're allowing to have access to our lives. And
you bet.
In this world where you share everything, it's hard to have that balance.
Yeah.
but an awareness, you know, just kind of makes you see things you didn't before that are going on around you.
You bet. Yeah. Well, Stephanie, we're going to have to wrap this up. I am just so grateful and thankful for your wisdom, your passion, that you're just not really somebody who's sitting around wishing that this would go away, but you're fighting the battle, which I know has got to have some big challenges. And I'm so glad you're here and doing that. So we talked about attending the food truck or going to find the food truck and buying your phenomenal food. Is there any other way that you would like your, the people who might be listening to be able to get in touch with you? I know you've got a family fun run coming up.
Yep, that's on August 4th. We'd love to have everybody come out. It's in Bloomington. Be really beautiful around Lake Normandale. And all proceeds go to our new building that we're raising funds for, where we can keep doing food service and all winter. And then we're actually going to start offering jobs and job training to survivors and those coming out of being trafficked here in Minnesota. So yeah, would love to have you come to the run. And if you ever want to volunteer on the food truck, we take volunteers. So yeah, there you go.
Super. All right. Sounds good, Stephanie.
Thanks so much, Jenna. No, thank you.
All right. You have a great day. Okay. Bye-bye.